I caught Bruce Garrity's luminous show on a rainy afternoon in mid-September. Being a fan of brilliant color, lush paint, and great technical chops, I definitely liked what I saw.
Hi, I'm Bruce Garrity. This is my show of paintings at 3rd Street Gallery. It's largely based on my studio experience. I teach at Rutgers in Camden, so I spend a lot of time in the studios there. In fact, I paint there myself, along with the students. Most of the works in the show are still life, just my painting materials and models to come in.
It seems like there are quite a few references to art history. I noticed Cezanne and Matisse.
I guess I see myself as coming out of that tradition of Post Impressionism and early Modernist figurative work, and oftentimes I remake masterworks. I don't copy the paintings per se, I sort of try to recreate them in a way. If there's a model, I'll get a model, that sort of thing. A little bit more like, say, Sept would do, I think. That's really a big part of my work. I don't mind being compared, my name being mentioned with other guys like that. You know, when somebody says, oh, your work reminds me of Matisse, I take that as a compliment, not that, oh, well, you're a blatant, rip-off of Matisse. All the paintings are oil paintings. The one landscape I think is underpainted with acrylic, but what you end up seeing is all oil paint. I try to use a wide array of ways of putting the paint on. I mean, some of it's very washy, there's turpentine in it. Some of it's fairly thick. I use masking techniques, a lot of trowels and putty knives and pieces of cardboard to drag the paint around. There's some linear stuff in it that people ask about, and it's just Sharpie. One of the things that people ask about is, well, why do you make them so big? Some of them are really quite large. And it's really not so much a matter of making them big as it is a matter of scale. The kind of scale I'm comfortable with is a 1-to-1 actual scale at the picture plane, which means if you have a model who's 5.5 feet tall, well, and you want to get the whole model in, the paint's going to be at least 6 feet tall. People ask about the color. Its original impetus comes from the thing itself, but then I usually heighten it. I push the chroma, saturate the color more. I would say is a pretty common thing that I do. There's actually a lot of gray and brown in the works too. I usually draw looking at the objects or whatever it is I'm doing the painting of, but then I try not to look at it too much as I'm painting.
Are you a big fish eater?
I'm not a big fish eater, but I love the way fish look. I was actually a bit of a fisherman when I was a kid. I grew up in Alaska and we went fishing a lot. I have a buddy who's a fisherman, so I get to paint the fish he catches most of the time. Or in a pinch, I go to the Asian market where they have a pretty wide array of really weird looking fish.
How long before they start to stink to high heaven?
Not long. I usually freeze them, so then they have a little more life before they start to get that odor to them. When I'm by myself, it's not so bad. But when my students come in and say, oh my God, it smells like fish in here.
How did a kid from Alaska get down here and become an artist?
Well, actually, my parents are from the area. My father grew up in Camden, and my mother's from down towards the shore in Mays Landing. We moved up there when I was in the 3rd grade and came back when I was a junior in high school. So I spent most of my kid years in Alaska. Then we moved to Delaware, and I was there for a few years. I started to teach at UD, which is where I went to undergraduate school in the mid-90s, and then ended up at Rutgers. My wife is the curator of education at the Stedman Gallery at Rutgers, so I knew people, and when they were looking for somebody, I was luckily in the right place at the right time.
Sadly, it's too late to catch Bruce's show now. It ended on September 27th, but keep your eyes peeled. I am certain we will be seeing a lot more of this wonderful painter as time goes by.